ألم نشرح لك صدرك ألم نشرح لك صدرك ووضعنا عنك وزرك الذي أنقض ظهرك ورفعنا لك ذكرك إن مع العسر يسرا فإن مع العسر يسرا فإذا فرغت فانصب وإلى ربك فارغب صدق الله العظيم. जज़ाकल्लाह खैर। इंशाल्लाह प्रोग्राम की कुछ तरतीब इस तरह से है कि आप सब लोग का माइक जो है वो म्यूट रहेगा और अपने तमाम तर क्वेश्चन आंसर्स जो है वो आप चैट के हवाले से लिखते रहेंगे और आपका जो है वो तरतीबवार जो है उसका जवाब हम लोग उसको मॉनिटर भी करते रहेंगे और उसका टुवर्ड्स द एंड जो है वो आदिल साहब इंशाल्लाह उसका तमाम सवालों का जवाब देंगे। इसके अलावा ये है कि अगर आपको कोई क्वेश्चन अगर करना हो तो आप अपना रेज हैंड भी कर सकते हैं। इफ यू नीड टू चैट, आप चैट फीचर है अगर आपने यूज किया हो जूम में तो आप डायरेक्ट चैट भी कर सकते हैं इंडिविजुअल से। फॉर एग्जांपल अगर आपको नाजली को कोई डायरेक्ट क्वेश्चन भेजना है तो आप उनको भी डायरेक्ट चैट भी भेज सकते हैं और अगर आपको एवरीवन को भेजना है तो वो भी कर सकते हैं आप। तो विद दैट आई विल टर्न ओवर टू नाजली इंशाल्लाह टू कंटिन्यू द प्रोग्राम।
Thank you, Shahid. Assalamu alaikum, everyone. Before we begin, I would just like to thank everyone for taking time out from your busy schedule on Sunday, and especially when Pakistan or India ka match ho raha hai, I know. But thank you very much, everyone. I would just like to thank our Professional Development Committee. Without these people's diligent efforts, we would not have been able to arrange this event. Thank you very much for your dedication, our Professional Development Committee, and also all board members. This sustainability, it's just simple explanation जो मैंने पढ़ रही थी इसके बारे में पढ़ती रहती हूँ क्योंकि I know it's construction industry में it's I know it's every engineering field is taking initiative about this, but especially construction industry का मैं ज़्यादा पढ़ती हूँ तो उसमें आजकल ये है कि United Nation की रिपोर्ट ये है कि this industry is targeting 50% CO2 reduction by 2030 and zero net carbon by I think 2050. So it's a big initiative. पूरी दुनिया आजकल इसमें involved है. Definitely we choose this topic because it has a big impact on our lives and our future generation. And with the Adil, Ali Adil Khan. I know Adil, आप first name Adil है या Ali लेते?
I go with Adil Nasli.
Okay.
So first name to Ali hai.
Okay. So most of you know him and he's a subject expert. I can assure you that you guys will enjoy his presentation. And again, thank you to Adil for spare some time for us. I think without further ado, I would like our liaison secretary, Nadia Zia, to please introduce our speaker. Nadia.
Thank you, Nancy.
Over to you.
Thank you. Mr. Adil, I can only summarize your years of experience in a very short word, and I'll pardon myself if I miss anything. Thank you for giving us the time. Our distinguished speaker, Mr. Adil Khan, is partner and global director associated with IBM in sustainability practice and market maker team. He comes with over 25 years of experience with companies from all over the world in the industries of energy and utilities, telecommunication and technology, manufacturing, leisure and travel, to name a few. In Mr. Adil's current role, he leads a team of professionals providing consulting and outsourcing services in finance and accounting, risk and compliance, talent and transformation, automation, AI, and advanced analytics and robotic process automation. He comes with a long list of credentials and sunshine experiences, and I can only attempt to highlight a few, such as MBA Finance and MIS from the University of Texas, Bachelor of Engineering from our very own alma mater in the mechanical department. And he had the opportunity to gain experience in Schlumberger, Exxon Chemical, Ontario Hydro, OPG under different leadership roles. He has several publications under his belt, which I may not want to mention here due to shortage of time. And we'd rather listen to the intelligence than the introduction of the intelligent. I would request Mr. Adil to benefit us of your knowledge. And after that, we will take up question and answer session. Thank you. Over to you, Mr. Adil.
Thank you so much, Nadia, for your very generous introduction. Can you all hear me clearly?
Yes.
We can.
Okay. And thank you to Nazli and the board of NEDAC for inviting me to your webinar this morning. And a big thank you for all of you, or to all of you, for attending this morning's meeting, in spite of the very exciting Pakistan-India T20 game happening. I'm extremely fortunate to have studied at NED and also benefit from the teaching and mentorship of many of the teachers. I'm also extremely proud to be part of a batch, which is the Mechanical Engineering 84 batch, that produced numerous masters and very successful engineers and professionals, and about 20 PhDs from our batch. And in fact, one of my colleagues, Rizwan Azim, chose to stay back and teach at NED, and he's a professor at NED. Also, I'd like to recognize Dr. Muzaffar Mahmood, who has been the greatest influence on our batch from NED. This year, our batch dedicated and started a scholarship in his name, Dr. Muzaffar Mahmood Scholarship, whereby one student from the Citizens Foundation College is going to be funded for the entire engineering. So I'm dedicating today's talk to both Dr. Muzaffar Mahmood and Rizwan Azim. In the next 40 minutes, what I will share with you are my insights about sustainability and why sustainability is top of mind for most CEOs and board of directors of large companies. As I present and share my insights and also real life examples using videos, please feel free to put your questions in the chat box. So, as I mentioned, consumers, companies, and countries all are looking at sustainability currently and its impacts and opportunities. It's a large market. It's going to be over 30 billion in a couple of years, and how exponential technologies can help us achieve sustainability and the goals that Nazli talked about, the net zero goals that all countries and companies are targeting for. And also mention the Sdg Goals, which are the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals, and as I mentioned, industry success stories. So what is sustainability? Simply put, this is a beautiful definition put together by United Nations, right? And Nazli also touched upon it, that we want to save the world for our future generations, right? Meeting the needs of the present without compromising the ability of future generations to meet their own needs. These are profound words indeed. And what are the impacts of sustainability? We've all experienced those this year and in the previous years, right? The wildfires, some of the people who are visiting Alberta, Banff, and other places, they are unable to see the Rocky Mountains because of the smoke from the fires. Hurricanes, recent hurricanes, floods all over, including Karachi and other places, are playing havoc on our lives. So There is a meeting coming up in a week in Glasgow, which is called Conference of the Parties. And this is the 26th edition of it, where leaders from across the world, from countries including Biden and Justin Trudeau and others, are attending to agree on and commit to reducing carbon emissions and the impact on the climate to stop global warming. So these are two key numbers that you all should remember or take away from, if at all anything, 1.5 and 51. 1.5 degrees centigrade is the temperature rise that we all want to limit by 2030. And if we are unable to control it, and if it goes to 2.5, above 2.5, then there'll be catastrophic consequences. 51 is 51 gigatons of carbon equivalent that is being pumped every year by all of us combined into the world, which is actually causing global warming and climate change. I am attending COP26 next week, which runs from November 1st to the November 12th, and representing IBM. Now, what is contributing to the 51 gigatons? In this slide, I've extracted some information from a recent book written by Bill Gates called How to Stop Climate Disaster. Industrial, and in particular, steel manufacturing, cement manufacturing, and plastics contribute the most towards those emissions, followed by energy and electricity, in particular fossil fuels, 27%. Believe it or not, farming is also a big contributor, because of the fertilizers used and plants and animals. Cows are a huge contributor of methane gas. Lastly, transportation, which includes airplanes, cars, trucks, all of that, and then heating and cooling and air conditioning of buildings. Why sustainability is core to a business strategy now. Over 100 countries are committed to net zero emissions now. And it's a huge political landmine. We just heard last week, Putin is not going to be attending the COP26, and Xi Jinping from China is also not attending, because they feel that growth is going to slow down if they start cutting on carbon. China is the biggest producer of coal and contributor of greenhouse gases. However, consumers and employees are speaking out. Consumers are saying, we will not purchase products that have huge carbon footprints. And these are surveys done recently. 54% said they're willing to pay a premium for products that are sustainable. Also, 62% CEOs and CXOs, have said sustainability is essential for them to remain competitive. And talent, as I mentioned, employees are more willing to join companies that exhibit good ESG and SDG principles and goals. And lastly, investors. Investors like banks and investment companies are investing in sustainable companies and stopping from investing in polluting companies or high polluting companies. Here are some examples. Here's why Tesla's market cap is 3 times of Toyota, because soon we will have, in a couple of years, 100 million EVs or electric vehicles just in North America. The trend is moving backwards. There's 2.3 trillion invested in impact investing. So companies like BlackRock and major banks, Merrill Lynch, etc., are investing heavily in this area. Lastly, in terms of the energy and utilities, companies are significantly moving to renewable electricity. For example, Shell is, in a few years, 5 years, will move from 15% of its electricity produced from renewables to 50%. That's a big number. I'm actually part of an expert team selected from IBM by Shell to help them transition from a energy company to a power electricity company, where, and that's because currently about 10% of the energy comes from electricity, right? If you look at the total global portfolio, only 10% is electricity, the rest is oil, gas, etc. It will grow very soon to 50% by 2060. So I was asked also to touch upon regulation and sustainability. Regulations are what sort of, it's a license to operate for companies, right? If you break the regulation, you get fined. But we are now beyond that. Most companies are looking at moving beyond regulation and showing leadership as sustainability, because consumers and employees are saying, we will work for companies, we will buy products that are sustainable. So just meeting the regulation is not good enough anymore. I talked about these, how, Mark Carney, who was the governor of State Bank of Canada, as well as in England, he has convinced the 6 major banks here in Canada to sign up to Net Zero Forum. CEOs, all the CEOs' salaries and bonuses are now tied to ESG goals. Here are some more examples of why sustainability is so important. On this slide, I want to share with you the 17 sustainability goals that have been set by United Nations. And these are just not about environment. These are about equality. These are about poverty reduction. These are about, eliminating hunger from the world. These are all very good goals. And all companies and countries must focus on improving all of these. Canada is number 21 on the list of countries out of the 193 who have who monitor their SDG goals. And on top are the European companies like Germany, Finland, Denmark. So Canada is making progress, but still has a way to catch up. I mentioned about the COP, and it's very important to align actions of companies and your company and your lifestyle, as well as with these sustainability goals. This slide talks about what's contributing to the emissions, like GHG emissions or greenhouse gas emissions that are shown at the top of the cloud. Scope 1 emissions are those that are directly produced from production of the product or services that a company produces. That's in the center. Scope 2 emissions are indirect emissions. If the company is buying electricity to run a machine, then those are called or classified as Scope 2 indirect emissions. Scope 3 are the most difficult to measure and capture, because often they are after the product comes into the hands of the consumer. So let's say if a company produces, like Boeing produces an aircraft, and once they sell the aircraft and how that aircraft is run by an airline and what greenhouse gases it produces, that's Scope 3 emissions. It's extremely important for companies to capture all three, Scope 1, Scope 2, and Scope 3. And companies like IBM and others are helping companies to do that. I'm a big believer of exponential technologies. I do believe that exponential and emerging technologies can help solve complex problems, can help us achieve sustainability. What is exponential technology? On the right-hand side, you see the graph, and you're all engineers. So you have linear growth and then suddenly exponential growth, where the line becomes asymptotic to the y-axis. And the technologies are intelligent automation, robotics, process automation, Internet of Things, machine learning, artificial intelligence, blockchain, intelligent workflows, edge computing, and quantum computing. And in the blue blocks, I've identified the benefits or the ability of these exponential technologies to help achieve efficiencies. For example, RPA can reduce manual effort by 50 to 60%. There will be 30 billion IoT devices by 2025 that they will be talking to each other and exchanging information. Blockchain can improve process transparency and efficiency by greater than 80%. And the examples that I will share with you will show how these technologies can help get us closer to the sustainability goals. Last but not the least, quantum computing. And 3 weeks ago, I was at IBM Research Labs in New York and saw the quantum computing as we were hosting a CEO from a company there. Quantum computing has the potential of really changing everything, because the speed with which quantum computer can calculate, if it takes or used to take with a supercomputer years to calculate something, it now takes a couple of days. Okay, I'm going to change the pace now, and I'm just going to look at my time and give you examples of sustainability solutions and client success stories. A quick snapshot on IBM. I'm sure all of you have heard of IBM. It's the longest survivor on Dow, and also a very large technology company. We essentially, do what we say or tell our clients to do, right? And we have achieved, or we have set a target of achieving net zero by 2030, and accelerating our targets, as well as we have a huge amount of renewable energy purchases. We have reduced CO2 emissions, etc. And the platforms and the technology we have developed and deployed helps clients and everyone else to improve their sustainability goals. So this presentation, I'm going to talk about some of the offerings that we've developed that align to the SDG goals, and helping countries and companies move closer to those. So there are in essential 6 offerings, and I'll walk you through each one. And these are solutions, right? The first one being Journey to Sustainability, and then how we use weather network and services, and extract data out of it to forecast and come up with predictions. Clean electrification and emissions management. A lot of you would be interested in this area. Intelligent operations, responsible computing, sustainable supply chain and circularity. And lastly, climate risk and carbon ESG reporting. Okay, so it's important to know where you are in your sustainability journey, right? What are your current emissions? What's the waste you're generating? And then come up with a roadmap to improve your goals in that area. So this answers the question, I want to evolve my business, engage my employees, leverage sustainability trends, and determine how to meet my compliance and shareholder ESG commitments. The second solution focuses on climate risk, carbon, and ESG reporting, which answers the question, how can I embed climate impacts into the products and services I develop and mitigate the risks from those? How can I increase transparency and accountability in my ESG reporting? Measure my scope 1, 2, and 3 carbon emissions, as I discussed earlier. And lastly, benchmark my performance to other peers in the industry. I'm going to share an example now with you all where a climate risk analysis model was developed for a large North American bank to help them make decisions on where to invest, what to fund, and how to also look at insuring against these climate-related risks. I'm going to now play this video.
Climate risks are extreme and complex.
The challenges are huge and increasing exponentially.
Trillions of dollars are at risk across all sectors and geographies.
Corporations, governments, and institutions face physical risks, both acute and chronic.
As we evolve into a lower carbon economy, there are many transition risks.
We face increasing liability risks as those affected by climate change seek to recover damages.
To do nothing is no longer an option.
Climate-related financial risk is impacting the entire planet, affecting assets, supply chains, operations, and investments.
There are infinite complexities, big data challenges, and billions of people affected.
This is why IBM is continuing its tradition of working to solve the world's toughest problems with the smartest thinking.
IBM's Climate Risk and Resilience Services engages with corporations and governments around the world to understand, strategize, and take positive action.
Using the Climanomics platform and working with the Climate Service, IBM combines its climate risk analytics expertise with the latest technologies, including artificial intelligence, advanced analytics, blockchain, the Internet of Things, geospatial data layering, and hybrid multi-cloud.
We're leveraging IBM's global scale, local knowledge, and industry expertise to work with you to understand, quantify, and mitigate climate risk.
We integrate your data into the latest climate and financial impact models.
Our 4 service lines identify, measure, and implement positive change.
Working together, we maximize opportunities and build insights into your decision-making and transformation journey.
Let's put smart to work to deliver a robust climate strategy that reduces risk and increases resilience. IBM, innovation and action that matters for corporations, governments, and the world.
Thank you for listening. Now, the next area I will move into is clean electrification and emission management. And it answers the question, how can I transition to clean energy using renewable energy options like solar, wind, as well as battery storage, enhance my ROI and balance energy grid's flexibility with traditional fuels. In the last webinar, Faisal Qazi, CEO of Siemens, who's also a dear friend, talked to you all about the importance of changing energy, electricity distribution mix. What we've done for city of Copenhagen and the largest electricity service provider called TenneT there is to do exactly that. Because what is happening is as a renewable energy mix comes into the electricity distribution, it's because some of the renewable energy is intermittent, like solar only generates electricity when the sun is shining and wind is blowing, wind energy is. So it causes some challenges for the electricity distributor. And also the consumers that have solar panels on their roofs are now able to sell back to the grid. And this is where we help City of Copenhagen, and I will play the video now for you.
It is not just power generation that is changing due to the energy transition. So too are consumer habits. Consumers are becoming producers, as many of them generate electricity themselves and feed it into the grid. Transmission system operators must react flexibly to this volatile feed-in of renewable electricity into the power grid and to the increasingly complex energy consumption behavior. In this context, blockchain technology offers a unique potential for the entire energy sector. It supports the secure and fast exchange and storage of data. As a consequence, end users will help to keep the grid stable. With 2 groundbreaking blockchain pilot projects, TenneT is now setting a revolutionary milestone for the energy supply system of the future. Allowing TenneT to integrate flexible capacity of household batteries and charging points of electric cars. Thus, the blockchain network acts as a virtual power plant. In Germany, TenneT, in collaboration with Sonnengruppe, is integrating decentralized battery storage systems into the energy supply system. A network of domestic solar batteries is operating via the control center of Sonnen e-services to constantly adjust the intelligent charge management of the batteries to the respective demand in the TenneT network. In the Netherlands, the use of blockchain technology helps to make sure that not only power plants will steadily maintain the balance between production and consumption. Now owners of electric vehicles can also help to keep the grid frequency at 50 Hz. Both pilot projects are the next innovative step in shaping the energy environment of the future and in giving consumers the opportunity to actually contribute to the energy transition. TenneT, taking power further.
Next area we will move into is intelligent operations and responsible computing. Intelligent operations essentially is looking at how do you optimize your operations, make them more efficient, do things faster. It's not about eliminating jobs only. It's about doing things faster in a better form. How can you employ machine learning that learns over time itself? How can you use artificial intelligence to make faster and good decisions? How can you use blockchain to help you, trace the records and do things faster? One of the examples that I'm going to use here is from the Port of Rotterdam, where we deployed technology, including blockchain and artificial intelligence and IoT, to help them move ships faster. Rotterdam is the most, I guess it's the largest, one of the largest ports in the world. They have 140,000 seagoing ship movements in a year. So a lot of ships go through them, a lot of containers go through Rotterdam. And what we were able to do for them was to reduce, it used to take them 12 hours to process an incoming ship. And that would cost the ship to be running the engine, and it would cost fuel as well as carbon emissions. And the solution that was, jointly co-developed with the Port of Rotterdam helped reduce $5.6 billion in fuel cost, as well as 134 tons of CO2 reduction. I'm going to play this video, which is self-explanatory.
Every day the tide is different. Sometimes it's higher, sometimes it's lower. We have a lot of wind. Everything has its impact.
The Port of Rotterdam is some 50 kilometers long, 3,000 companies, 470 million tons of goods, providing employment for some 385,000 people.
The port needs the digital transformation in order to survive. As for them, it's crucial to become the smartest port in the world.
Across industries, smart technology and creative thinking are driving innovation around the globe. This is how the Port of Rotterdam is going the extra mile. I like to say you can't have AI without a digital twin. A digital twin is a digital representation of a physical thing, and all of the assets around us are becoming really intelligent.
The IoT sensors are critical to this.
IoT sensor is a lot of things. It can see, it can hear, it can touch, it can feel.
They measure everything from the water movement, tide height, vibrations, pressure, movement, temperature, turbidity in the water.
So we'll have better insights into how all the different assets and all the different equipment within the port are operating with each other.
We're using 5 different types of sensors throughout the port. You have to make sure that the data that you get is valid. You don't want any disaster to happen because sensors are hacked or broken.
If you can start to digitize everything from the cranes to the ships to the quay walls and get the information from them in real time, your decisions can be made extremely fast and with much better accuracy.
The technology they're using in the control room is the IBM Hydrometeor dashboard.
We look at the information about tidal current, salinity, visibility, wave height, wind direction. The data is really helping me to get this ship in a safe manner. If I make the wrong decision, you could end up grounding the vessel, making a too wide turn, ending up in a collision with other ships. And that, of course, might have its impact on the environment.
Because we live in an era of change, driven by digitization and energy transition, we strongly believe a culture of innovation is necessary. That's why we established the RAM Lab presence in this port.
RAM Lab stands for Rotterdam Additive Manufacturing Lab, where we focus on large-scale additive manufacturing of parts for the chemical industry and oil and gas parts. We want to be the smartest port in the world. That's why we also look at 3D printing as an opportunity to print parts when and where they are needed. We need to monitor the process while we are printing, and that generates a lot of data, and we store that data in the IBM cloud. Our vision is to have a global network of RAM labs where you can print the parts nearby when and where you need them.
Everything that today's society needs comes in or goes out of this port. For that, we need world-class partners that understand our challenges, that understand our culture, and can deliver with us. The port's future is bright, I'm convinced, because we've embraced the challenges of today as an opportunity.
I think this project is extra exciting because of the scale of it. There's so many different things and assets that all make the port possible.
Port of Rotterdam is really one of the most innovative companies I know. And we work together with the port on innovations that have a direct impact on the environment. That means impact to my children and their future.
So one of the last examples I'm going to share with you is buildings. As we talked about, our office buildings as well as residential buildings are a big contributor of carbon emissions. So this is an example from a facility management company, how they were able to reduce emissions or the impact on the climate through energy and waste reduction, improved service quality, and cost optimization.
And to be the world's greatest service organisation, you need a backbone of information and knowledge which will allow you to do things in a different way. It will allow you to change the perception of facilities management from something that gets done to you to something that you have an input to because your information is known and service is very personalised towards you. We can only do this with an organisation with the size, the breadth and the capability of IBM. So the vision really is to combine the technology that IBM can bring together with this strong vision of service with a human touch from an ISS perspective, which is all about the service experience, and be able to work with our customers to deliver them predictive information as well as cognitive information in a more automated way, which will allow us to drive efficiency within our own workforce, but also drive value for our customers. And more importantly, deliver great service experiences for our consumers every single day. I have a view that buildings should work for people, and together with IBM and using the cognitive capabilities, we'll be able to provide places which are more efficient from an asset perspective, but more importantly, more capable of supporting great service as we go forward. There'll be places where people want to be, rather than places that they have to go to work.
I guess there's one more video to share on sustainable sourcing. So sourcing and supply chain has a huge impact on sustainability as well as on operations. Where we source the product from, how we source the products, all have a huge impact on sustainability and our lives. This is a very important area, and I'm going to share a video that has been produced for the largest consumer company in the world, Unilever, and they are doing some amazing work to ensure that the suppliers that they use are exhibiting social responsibility. For example, they are paying minimum wages to their employees. They are not employing child labor or modern slavery, things like that. Let me play this video now.
At Unilever, our ambition is to make sustainable living commonplace. We are committed to sustainably sourcing all of our palm oil, and we are actively deploying technologies that we believe could end deforestation by radically transforming supply chain transparency. In a first-of-its-kind pilot, we're using geolocation monitoring through mobile phone network data to identify the individual farms and plantations supplying the third-party mills in our palm oil supply chain. The pilot takes place at Unilever's oleochemical facility, registering anonymized mobile pings, the dots in blue. Starting out with a relatively disorganized data blur, we are rapidly able to organize that data into intelligent point-to-point movements. The palm oil mills are neatly overlaid into the map, and we start to introduce point-to-point lines, moving to a three-dimensional field of view to explore the data. Now, we start to add the broader data set of movements to and from mills, and you start to see the depth of information we can build and the instantaneous nature of the supply chain discovery. This is fast to refresh once the heavy data science lifting is finalized, and we have scalable algorithms. We can follow the data to learn more about upstream sources, going from our direct suppliers to their direct suppliers. And we gain a data-driven line of sight to crop origin, even with long and complex commodity supply chains. After establishing a data-driven link to palm plantations, we use technology and satellite data to monitor those plantations across the entire supply chain. Here, we are visualizing plantation concessions across Southeast Asia. From there on, we evaluate the primary risks and impacts associated with palm across the entire supply base. We are looking at satellite data feeds covering recent fires in red, deforestation and conversion on peat soils in blue, and forest near protected areas and national parks in green. This data is real-time and scalable. We have enhanced the use of satellite technology with the use of the latest radar detection, which allows for much faster detection of deforestation and land conversion. Unilever is looking at how we can scale this globally and across commodities. This is just one part of our plan to build a comprehensive digital ecosystem to help the wider industry end deforestation. By collaborating with technology partners, we will enable greater transparency, improve smallholder livelihoods, and make sustainable living commonplace.
So I know we are at 11:45, and I will close in a couple of minutes. I did have some additional examples, but I will skip those, and maybe we can go directly to the close.
Adil bhai,
yes,
you still have 10 minutes. आप continue कर सकते हैं.
Okay,
We
thank you,
all are
Nazli.
enjoying.
All right. Thank you, Nazli. So let me, because I have all engineers and scientists on the call, I want to touch upon this very important thing. So We are doing work with the World Business Council for Sustainable Development. This is the largest body of businesses globally, based in Geneva. And in 1998, I did a fellowship with them in Geneva. And what they're trying to do here, working with Chevron, Dow, IBM, Solav, Unilever, is to look at the entire value chain of a product. For example, if you look at the right, laundry detergent that you use often, how is it produced? It starts from crude oil, and then propylene is produced from it, and then ethylene, and at each stage, what they're trying to do as a consortium is to find out what is the carbon footprint at each step, and how can we reduce that using circularity, which means, have less waste, have the ability to recycle the product. This is available, this research is available on the net, and I encourage you to look at that. Now, the last part is weather network and services. This is extremely important because direct impact of climate change and global warming is on weather, and how we are able to forecast the weather will help us design new products, sell new products to the customers, and move the products to the right place. I have an example to share with you with Cisco. Cisco is the largest food supply company in the world. And what they do is they use trucks to move the food, and they are using artificial intelligence and analytics to avoid accidents and delays for their bus drivers. I'm going to play the video here, and you will appreciate that. Thank you.
Weather is the great disruptor in the ground transportation industry, responsible for 22% of highway accidents and 23% of delays. But what if you can turn weather into a competitive advantage? What if you could make critical weather-driven decisions affecting your operations safely and efficiently? IBM and the Weather Company can help Cisco do just that with the decision support resources to positively impact Cisco's business outcomes. The best predictor for future traffic is past traffic, and the single largest influence on traffic is the weather. IBM can merge weather, traffic, and routing data on a single operational dashboard. Using a weather-influenced traffic prediction capability, Cisco will have added insights and can make more confident traffic-dependent decisions further in advance. Not only will you be able to identify the shortest route, but also the fastest based on future weather and traffic conditions, and you can reduce traffic forecast errors by as much as 30%. Driver safety is a top concern for Cisco. IBM uses millions of data points and Watson's machine learning capabilities to help ensure it. IBM's IoT Hub can collect all types of data from various sources, including onboard sensors like anti-lock brake activation and temperature readings. This information is used to generate in-cab audio driver alerts, including everything from dangerous slowdowns and road hazards to severe weather and accidents. It can even create geolocation data with driver-reported incidents to create virtual feedback loops to alert other drivers of upcoming hazards. What's more, drivers receive regular safety reminders and situational guidance when dealing with dangerous road conditions. Before a driver even gets behind the wheel, IBM will provide predictive analytics to help Cisco identify maintenance or cargo issues before they disrupt performance. Information from truck telematics and sensors are used to compute forecast models for vehicle maintenance and performance. And managers receive weather, traffic, and driver locations into a single command center for real-time, in-depth insights into their operations. All this leads to fewer delays, safer travels, and an edge on the competition. With a 2.6 million annual benefit and a 6-to-1 value to price ratio for large fleets. That's data-driven solutions for your weather-driven decisions.
So before we get into sustainability and you, I hope that you found the talk as well as the videos that I shared thought-provoking. And now you're in agreement with me when I said in the beginning, exponential technologies have the potential to solve the greatest and the most complex problems in the world. According to Business and Sustainable Development Commission, about 12 trillion of economic opportunities are there globally. So sustainability is a big business. It's not only a good thing to do, but it's also a profitable thing to do. It will create 380 million jobs by 2030. And it's at the center of environmental, economic, and social. So now you will hear the words purpose, business with purpose, living with purpose, and it's all that. My last slide is talking about how you can think of upskilling for sustainability for yourself and your children or your colleagues through innovative thinking, showing strong leadership and asking tough questions of your employer as well as your business leaders. Calculate and pitch potential value that the benefits can give you from sustainable development and making sustainable choices. Data skills are going to be key. All companies are going to be run in the future from data. Data is the new oil. Data is the new blood for the companies. And lastly, effective engagement with employees, with stakeholders is key to that. If companies do not move or show progress on their sustainability goals, they will lag behind. With that, I end my presentation and open to questions. Nazli, over to you.
Thank you, Adil bhai. Nadia, are you there?
Yes, I'm here. Somehow my camera has gone black on me. I'm sorry about that. Thank you, Adil Sahab. That was indeed a very, very informative session. I thoroughly enjoyed it. I'm going to pass it on to Naila, and she's going to ask us the questions which are put forward by our members here. Before I pass it on to Naila, I myself have a question. Adil Sahab, when you come up with these numbers, i.e. 1.5 and 50, how did you, there's a lot of work behind it, I'm pretty sure of that. How do you, and what is the, first of all, what is the duration or the lapse of years that you take to come up with those numbers? There's data management there. And how do you know that if you raise above 1.5, there's more devastation and staying under 1.5 is just ideal for our environment? Just my naive question here.
So that's a very good question, Nadia. And it's not me that came up with these numbers. This is over 30,000 scientists globally through their scientific research and study over the last 30 years have come up with it. So there's a panel called IPCC, International Panel for Climate Change, that came up with, and for the longest time, all the leaders, including the previous leader south of our border, did not agree with these numbers, did not agree that anything over 1.5 degree centigrade rise will have an impact on the world. So there are those disbelievers, but this is scientifically researched and proven now that and there was a recent report that was released again by the scientists, and the head of United Nations said that we are now on red alert. If we do not take action now, and by 2030, if we do not do things to ensure that the temperature doesn't rise above 1.5, then there will be irreversible things happening, right? There will be excessive heat waves. There will be no water in the Sahara. There will be floods. There will be, adverse weather conditions. So it's proven. It's not me that who put those numbers.
No,
it is the global scientific research authorities.
Thank you. Over to you, Naila, if you could.
Okay, ji haan. Assalamu alaikum.
Alaikum
So, I'm not wasting any more time. So I'll just start with the first question. That's from Shakireen, and he's asking, how can we achieve zero carbon footprint target when major industrial countries like greatest polluters are not cooperating?
Again, that is the debate that is going to be discussed in Glasgow in a week's time at COP26, right? India says, the countries like USA and other countries in Europe are not cutting their emissions. Why should we? This is our time to grow now. So I think this is someone very rightfully said that this is a race where we win if everybody wins. If Canada becomes #1 in its pursuit for SDG, it's not good enough. There will still be other countries that will continue to, act negatively, which will hurt all of us. So I'm not sure if I'm answering the question, but I think everyone has to play their part, including us as individuals, right? We soon, instead of buying a internal combustion engine car, next year, if you're thinking of buying a new car, think of an EV, electric vehicle, what impact it will have on the environment, right? Make the right choices. Put solar panels on your roof when next time you're changing your roof. So these are the things we need to think about.
Okay, so I'll go with the second question, and it's from Azhar. He's saying, what are we doing in Pakistan to solve our energy crisis in a sustainable way? And how can this digital technology help Pakistan ports? And here's another question, I'll repeat third one too. How does this technology improve the foundry environment?
So again, interesting question. I'm not close to what's happening in Pakistan, although in 1997, on a top 10, which is technology, transfer of knowledge through technology, top 10 scholarship of United Nations, I did go to Islamabad and spend 2 months there coming up with their sustainable energy development strategy, which I sent to, at that time, I think it was Pervez Musharraf there. And we still know that what probably happened with that report, it's still sitting on a desk collecting dust, right? So the answer is, honest answer is, I don't know, Azhar, what's happening in Pakistan, but they can do a lot. As we know, there are companies going from Canada and setting up wind farms, solar farms. There's renewable energy, the dams are being built, nuclear is coming up big. So, and I think Imran Khan is planting trees and all that. So all good stuff is happening. They're trying to do their part, but there needs to be more that needs to be done.
So, okay, so they are done. I will go with the next one. Sayyida Narmeen Zahra. She's saying, I was curious to know if IBM was able to quantify its impact on economies of developing countries like Indonesia, apart from the cost savings it did for the big companies that had their operations there. And she's also saying any existing projects IBM is currently working on in South Asian regions, specifically in Pakistan.
Yeah, I'm sure there's lots going on. I don't have visibility into what the firm is doing in those parts. And to the earlier question, I am in touch with the IBM head of Pakistan, and I can make some connections. And even if there's an interest in Indonesia, those are the right people to reach out to who would be able to answer that question.
Naila, before you proceed to next question, I just want to give brief introduction of this girl, Sayyida Narmeen Zahra. She joined from Pakistan, actually.
Really?
She just graduated from NED, and she was the position holder. I think second position, Narmeen. If you are there, you can confirm. And she's very much interested in this topic. So I asked her to join.
Yeah, that's good to know.
Yeah.
So she has another question. Okay, let you. Okay, you finish.
No, you
first,
continue
Adil.
now. You continue now.
एक और है उनका, I have a question. How do you benchmark your performance when compared to your peers? It is mentioned in one of your slides.
Yes. So I think, first of all, congratulations on securing second position. Very, very impressive. And I know how difficult and how challenging it is. So, and you know, for women to be in engineering, it's highly commendable. My wife is also an engineer and a structural engineer. So what I want to say is benchmarking is extremely important. There are, you know, the way we benchmark is we have information and data that we collect on our clients, and anonymously we are able to benchmark that, our performance with them, right? So there are databases and you know, ways of assessing that information, and I think measuring, capturing, benchmarking, and monitoring are highly important. Unless you do that, you don't know where you're going, right? And I'm happy to, my email was on it. Please do give my regards to Rizwan Azim, your professor, and please reach out to me if you have any other questions.
Okay, so our next question is from Shaqareen Ahmed again. And he's saying there are lots of pilot projects happening globally on sustainability. Is any such thing happening in Pakistan? And do we have to educate the people in Pakistan on the importance of sustainability?
Again, I've been out of Pakistan for the last 40 years. So I am not the right person to answer that question. These are perhaps questions that the leaders in Pakistan or the people who are actually residing in Pakistan, and Nazli, this might be a good webinar to have, given the questions coming. Someone from Pakistan should be addressing those questions.
Yeah, I have a note of this.
Okay, so our next question is again from Shaqareen Ahmed. And he's saying, we all have to play a role in sustainability. Do you think solar panels on residential homes is feasible in terms of cost and benefit?
Yes.
Yes, it is. And Nazli, perhaps maybe you can answer that question, given the passion that you had, because you're in this area.
No, I can see lots of people are doing this nowadays. And especially I know few of my friends in US, they already installed this, and we can see the benefit of it. And right now here in Canada, we are involved in so many projects, especially with the schools, hospitals. They are adding solar panels, not just in new construction, in old construction also. The existing building, they want to have solar panels in their buildings. So we are assessing existing condition to see if we can add it or not. So I'm sure it helps a lot.
Absolutely. And with the storage technology, you know, so there are now storage walls being built. So instead of putting a wall, you will have a storage battery, which will act like a wall in your home and will store electricity when there is sunshine, and you can use that in the evening for your leisure.
Oh, that I did. That's a good.
Now I can see Imran wants to ask a question, so I'll let him ask his question first. Sure. If Shahid can unmute him.
Imran, where is Imran? Let me see where he is. Good that beside this India-Pakistan match, we had 48.
Can someone update what's the score? Javed's up. He's on mute too.
Okay, Imran.
Hello, Assalamu alaikum. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Yes, Imran.
Okay, Assalamu alaikum, Adil. Kaise hain aap? How are you?
Bilkul theek, Imran.
Thank good, great presentation. Just have a quick question. in your experience, I would say in Canada, which are the 3 vertical industries which are really interested in implementing projects for, especially to reduce the carbon footprints?
So from my experience, cement industry, and they are doing some very interesting work.
I can endorse this.
Right, Nazli, yes. Yeah. They're using recyclable material. So definitely cement industry and you know, to name a few, like Lafarge is doing some very interesting stuff. The other area is obviously oil and gas. And Suncor is doing some really amazing things out west. And you know, also we're starting to see some interesting stuff in the electricity sector, right? Your company, Ontario Power Generation, I keep seeing posts on LinkedIn from Ken Hartwig, CEO, on how a leadership position OPG is taking. They are now majority, obviously, nuclear and hydro. When I was with the company 10 years ago, they made the decision to close their fossil power plants. They were way ahead of the rest of the industry. They
Definitely.
Nanticoke power plant, the Lambton one, the Lennox, all of those plants. And we as Ontarians paid more money for electricity for making that choice. But look where we are now. We as a province in Ontario and as a country are ahead of other, because we believe, because we said there, you know, if you look at the total cost of, it's not just the emissions, but health costs, right? People who are getting more sick, who are living closer to the fossil power stations because of the pollutions. So yeah, I think those would be the industries. And Ron, thank you for answering that question. And good.
No, thanks for asking. Just last one quick question, if you allow me. That I know that COP is happening next week. And I know the government of Canada is leading a delegation, and there are some NGOs who are also, you know, going to represent Canada, as like yourself. You mentioned you are going as well. Are there any NGOs, like if somebody, a person like myself or any other industry wants to get along, you know, tag on with them and then participate? Are there any opportunities exist? I mean, or do you have to be working in this industry to be part of the COP?
No, you can be part of, and there are quite a lot of sessions that are happening online. You can register. They had actually 2 weeks ago opened up free registration for everybody, either who wanted to be on site physically or virtually. So Imran, I will send you, but if you go to the COP26 UK website, you will go to tickets and you can purchase tickets for virtual or physical participation in those sessions.
Oh, excellent. Thank you. I didn't know that. So I will do that. Sure.
Great, Imran.
Okay, great. Thank you, Adil.
You're welcome, Imran.
Continue, Naila, if we have.
Yeah, I have another question from S. Qureshi, and saying, what are the targets and benchmarks for global social equity while adopting sustainability?
Again, a great question. So, you know, if you look at the sustainability SDG goals, there is elimination of poverty is in there, which is, I'm actually just going to that slide so I can reference. So number one is no poverty in the world. You know, there are still close to 2-3 billion people who live below the poverty line, which is not acceptable at all. Zero hunger. There are people still sleeping without any food. Not acceptable. Good health and well-being of people on the planet. You know, we still have diseases like polio and malaria and, you know, typhoid. Those should be eliminated. Quality education, you know, is for all, right? Malala is a huge proponent of that. I think Malala will be there at COP. Gender equality, number 4, right? And clean water and sanitation. You know, it's just unacceptable that we don't have clean water and sanitation for so many people around the world. These are all social Thanks. Let me just, if you don't mind, share this because it's important for you all to see and appreciate these SDG goals. And you know, I'm trying to memorize these actually, and you know, put a like a table mat for me to refer to on a daily basis. Okay, where are we? Yeah, this one, right? Life on land, right? What do we do? Choices we make. A lot of people are becoming vegetarians because of that. Peace and justice, partnership for, you know, number 17. These are all social goals. Maybe there is only one or two. Climate action is environmental, you know, reduce inequality in the world, right? So I hope I've answered your question, but take a look at all of these. Back to you. Any more questions?
So it's a question. If you're done with that one, I'll ask the next question. Yes, it's a question from the host. Is it you from Nazli?
No.
It says host to everyone. Okay. I'll read the question.
Karamat Bhai or Shahid, because they were co-hosts.
How in the industrial world information sharing on the topic of sustainability and ESG initiatives is happening? I often see proprietary rights comes into play. So how it is moving?
Okay, great question again. I can tell you, assure you, like what I shared with all of you today, right? It could have been proprietary, where it was open and it was put on YouTube. So a lot of technology that companies like IBM and Microsoft and others are developing is open. It's open for sharing. Responsible computing is about that, right? Share the knowledge that you've developed around the world so that, like I said, all of us can win. Obviously, things that provide competitive advantage based on your research, right? Quantum computing is one example, great example, which can solve very complex problems. And IBM worked to develop the vaccine for COVID, you know, offered its technology for free. And that enabled us to develop a vaccine within a year time, right? These are the kind of things. So I think there is open sharing of information and technology.
And that question was from Iqbal. He's from Calgary. So, okay, so so far we have just these questions. If anyone else has any question, they can just ask now or raise their hands.
Naila, I just saw one question from Islam.
No, that was Islam.
What is the parameters for a steel industry to control sustainability?
Okay.
I don't have those on top of my head, but parameters that come to mind are reuse, recycle, obvious ones, right? If steel industry can create less, because steel is a very energy intensive industry, right? I remember while I was a student at NED visiting Pakistan steel mill to see the blast furnace. And if you see the blast furnace, you know, coke has to be fired along with iron ore to melt. It's like tremendous. I forget, some of my colleagues on the like Parvez would remember the temperatures that are required to create steel. And so less use of steel, use of more sustainable steels or metals, and more reusable and recyclable. I think those are the answers.
Okay, so if anybody else, okay, Javed Anam has a question he wants to ask. If Shahid can unmute him.
Yes, I'm doing.
Assalamualaikum. जी आदिल, आपको आवाज आ रही मेरी?
जी हाँ, फरमाइए।
चले, नाइस प्रेजेंटेशन। आप COP में जा रहे हैं, तो वहाँ एक काम कीजिएगा कि आपके जो 17 गोल्स हैं उनमें से कुछ को अचीव करने के लिए पाकिस्तान का लोन माफ करवा दें।
पहले आप जो है मैं आपसे एक रिवर्स रिक्वेस्ट करूंगा।
जी बोलिए।
पहले आप पाकिस्तान में करप्शन खत्म करवा दें,
यार वही
लोन
तो
भी माफ हो जाएगा।
मसला है ना। आप 17 गोल्स जो अचीव कर रहे हैं, अल्लाह करे वो हो जाए। उनमें से हमारे लिए पाकिस्तान में जो बहुत बड़ी मुश्किल है वो लोन्स हैं जो हमारे ऊपर 70-72 साल में चढ़े हैं, तो उसको किसी तरह वेव ऑफ करवा दें।
So I think it is on the agenda, Javed sir. And actually I mentioned the word corruption, and it's actually one of the SDG goals to eliminate corruption. And companies, the G7 companies have actually put aside $100 billion for that, right? So it's easily said than done, right? What you're asking for. And it's a political discussion. I don't want to get into that area, but I think you raise an interesting point.
एक क्वेश्चन प्रॉब्लम ये है कि देखिए ये जो भी लोन है या जो भी करप्शन है, कॉमन मैन का इसमें कसूर बहुत कम है। होगा शायद तरबियत का इशू है या जो भी है, लेकिन कॉमन मैन इज सफरिंग बैडली।
I agree. I think it all goes back to
इसको बाहर लाने के लिए कुछ करना चाहिए। And one of the goals, few of the goals I noticed, क्या पॉवर्टी लाइन को करेंगे जीरो, हंगर रहेगा और जीरो करप्शन, शायद हो पाए या ना हो पाए, लेकिन ये कि किसी तरह इस पे कोशिश की जाए जिसमें कॉमन मैन की सफरिंग्स खत्म हो।
I agree.
Good. Okay ji, thank you Nazli, and thanks to everybody. I'm just closing down from my end.
Thank you Javed bhai for attending.
चलो इंशाल्लाह आप सबसे बात होगी। Thank you.
क्वेश्चंस बस हमारे पास यही थे खाली, लेकिन ये कि बहुत इसमें अप्रिसिएशन लोगों ने किया है, मतलब वेरी इंफॉर्मेटिव सेशन, इस तरह के बहुत अच्छे सब ने, like great words, great presentation. I can see throughout.
We have one more question. I think that will be our last question. Kasan Naqvi Saab, you can unmute yourself and ask the question.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, we can.
Good. Adil, thank you for an excellent presentation. We really enjoyed your immense knowledge and all that, though you're much, much junior to me. Anyway, I was just thinking up, since with your experience, we can benefit something, NEDAC. Can you put up a plan or something like a proposal for NED University to become carbon neutral, zero emission kind of thing? I'm sure it may sound very, ridiculously low or something like that, but it will be the step in the right direction, which can be taken up other universities and academics in Pakistan. It will be at least in one way forward. So can you think of something like that? Not a very detailed, comprehensive plan, but just a broad-based outline. Thank you.
Oh, interesting. Answer is I cannot put a plan together. I'll be honest with you. It has to come from NED. It has to come from people who are actually running NED. Like any plan that is proposed by anyone from outside is not going to work, right? It has to be, I'm happy to guide, co-create that plan, but it can be a very interesting project, like the final year project for a group.
Okay, great. I can put up a small paper, that's not a problem for me. If you can send me your email address, I would like to exchange my ideas with you before sending it to the Vice Chancellor. Would that be okay? Or with a NEDAC forum also, I can discuss with everyone.
Actually, NEDC, Sarosh Lodhi sir, he is already into this. They are working on smart classes right now. They are working on solar panels also. I think Ashraf Habibullah from US, he sponsors one or two smart classes already. So I'm sure they have some plan. I think we are not aware of it, but I can see that they are working on it.
Can you get some more information on that plan? I mean, something from Lodhi Saab or wherever, I don't know. Can you get some information?
Sure, I will. If you can.
Please try your best. I'll be really grateful. Thank you.
Sure.
Thank you, everyone.
Okay, so I'll move on to the next question. Do we have time, Nazli?
Adil Sab, are you okay?
I would like to sign out in a couple of minutes. I know we.
I think we can. Yeah, we
Maybe
can.
Let's take this last question.
Yes. Yes.
Okay, sure. Saira Narmeen Zahra is asking again, how is COP26 going to be different from Paris Agreement?
Yeah, so the Paris Accord, this is the follow-up, Narmeen, to the Paris Accord, which happened in 2015, right? And so this is different in the sense that the progress made over the last 5 years is going to be discussed here. And new commitments will be made in light of new findings. That's how it's different. And I encourage you to, there's a lot of information online, go and see it, attend the virtual, they are all open, the sessions, and yeah, be part of it.
Okay, I think with this we can end our session. Thank you very much, Adil Sabab. It's a really
pleasure.
Very, very informative session, and you can see that not just me, most of us learn a lot from your presentation. You can see the engagement. Despite this India-Pakistan match, I was a little concerned this morning that people might not attend, but I think we have a good number. Anybody has any other question, you can direct to me, or he's a part of our NEDAC membership, so you can directly contact to Adil Saab for more information, for more insight of this topic. I'm sure Adil Saab, you don't mind if people have more questions for you.
Not at all, Nazli, and thank you again for inviting me, and it was my pleasure to talk to all of you, and happy to be part of NEDAC, happy to be part of anything that needs to be done in Pakistan or other parts of the world. So thank you again.
And just a last request to all the attendees, that if you have any suggestion or any topic in your mind for us to arrange a webinar or seminar for you guys, please forward it to us. That will help Professional Development Committee in our future plans. Thank you very much. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
One
Bye.
last comment.
And enjoy your match.
Thank you.
The probability of Pakistan winning is now 55%.